Hello, you incredible human beings. This week's podcast is on something that you need to know, particularly if you're a business owner or you're in leadership. It's about cognitive detoxification. And effectively, it's just a fancy word for decluttering your brain, getting rid of all the stuff that is slowing you down and holding you back. Now, I came about this a few years ago when I was working my butt off. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I was working pretty close to 100 hours a week. I was up at about 4 a.m., going to bed at 10 p.m., and my head was just going and going. I was making a lot of money, things were going really great, but I just noticed that a couple of things started not going as well as what they'd like to be. First of all, I was getting really cranky, I was getting really irritable and snappy. So for example, if I was doing something, working on the computer, doing some ads or whatever I was doing, and Soph would come up, I'd be really short if she'd interrupt my train of thought because I'm so focused, and just getting her input, it felt almost overwhelming, and so I'd get quite irritable. I noticed that my memory started getting worse and worse. Now, I'm very fortunate. I got a really great memory. I can just remember stuff from years ago. I can remember my best mate's phone number, from when I was 5, 496413444. Like, it's still just etched into my brain. But I noticed that I started not being able to remember things that I needed to, conversations that I had with Sophie. And it got to the stage where Sophie would say, hey, like, you're just not listening in these conversations when I'm talking to you. What's the point of me talking to you if you're not listening? When in reality, I was listening, I just couldn't remember anything because it was like my brain was full. There was so much information going in from work and from all the stuff that I had going on that there wasn't room for anything else. So the memory was a big change. The next one was energy. My energy levels started plummeting just because it felt like I had to do everything twice. I'd start doing one task, get distracted, go and do another one. And I'd just be running around ragged, constantly doing all these different tasks. And at the end of the day, I'd look back on my day and say, shit, what did I actually get done? And the answer a lot of the time was not very much. I was expending a lot of energy for very little reward. My focus wasn't there where I needed to be. I just could not focus on anything. It was just like having ADD, ADHD. It's just the next shiny thing constantly grabbed my attention. And probably the hardest out of all of them was that my brain was just running all the time. I couldn't be present. So Sophie and I'd go out for dinner or go out for lunch. I just couldn't be present with her. I just found it incredibly hard. And I found, like, when we'd be sitting down and we'd be talking about stuff, I'd just be thinking about work and wanting to talk about work. And that was all that I could do because my brain was just jammed up. The only thing that my brain had room for was work. And it's just plain and simple. And that ended up culminating in me not sleeping well. I couldn't switch off when I went to bed. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about work. I'd wake up in the morning thinking about work. All that I had was just thinking about work. And I just couldn't switch off. This resulted in me then looking for distractions to switch off. So you'd be looking at your phone. So I'd be checking my phone, scrolling, watching YouTube. I used to have to put on a movie to go to sleep. So I'd have to have a TV on, or I'd have to have my phone on or something like that in order for me to switch off. Drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, you name it, like into everything, just to try and switch my brain off for a couple of seconds. And so what I looked on, like when I became aware of all this is going on, I was like, well, fuck, I don't like this. I used to have the most disciplined, incredible brain. I used to have phenomenal memory, phenomenal energy, brilliant focus, all this, and I'm losing it all. I'm now less effective. I'm not connecting with Soph. I'm just not being as good as what I can be. And this is costing me a shitload of money. I think as business owners, we always underestimate this. Like when we're looking in our business, when we look for ways to make more money, very rarely do we actually say, hey, how do I make me better? We always look at, I need to do more marketing or do more sales. It's like, no. What if we just do everything better? Because as a business owner, everything starts with you. And so that's what I started looking at. Is like, how do I make me better? And that's when I came across this cognitive detoxification. I formed this theory, and it was an absolute game changer for me. It's been absolutely freaking huge. I was able to go from working nearly 100 hours a week down to like 40 and now less. Now I've gotten so good at it, I can work 4 hours a day and get done in what I used to get done in 12 hours, right? It's incredible how effective this is. Be able to make more money, make better decisions, form better relationships, better networks. Every single area of my life is better with this. I make more money than ever in less time than ever, have more time with my kid and my wife, and I get to do what I like. I get to roll at jiu-jitsu twice a day. For 2 hours a day. I get to go and take my dog on the beach and walk her for an hour to 3 hours every single day. There's so much more time. I have so much more energy than ever. And that's what I want to share this with you guys because it's going to be really, really cool. So Here's the concept behind cognitive detoxification. Your brain has a finite amount of space. It's not unlimited. There's only so much information that we can fit in there. And it's like on your computer. Have you ever had a computer before that's just filled up, right? Just filled to the brim. I went to boarding school, right? And so you know what everybody filled up their computers with at boarding schools? Porn. Not me, of course. I'm a saint. I'm very well behaved. But all the other kids, right? All the other kids, they used to fill up their computers with porn, and their computers used to run slow, right? Because it just got filled up with so much video, and there wasn't any space for it. Now, I don't want you to think that, no, I'm not talking about your brain being filled up with porn, but that is one thing that can fill up your brain if you watch a lot of it. But I just want you to think about the whole idea of memory. If there's no memory left in your brain, it starts running slower. Things start getting forgotten. Files start getting corrupted. Stuff starts going wrong. So what we want to do is we want to clear up more space so that we can think more clearly, we can do more stuff, and we can run much faster. Does that make sense? So that's the concept one. The brain has a finite amount of space. So what are the ways where we can free up more space within the brain? Well, we can either, one, reduce information coming in, or two, increase information going out, right? So the rate of information coming in and the rate of information going out. If we can decrease info coming in and we can increase info going out, we'll be able to free up much more space. So now we're going to look at, well, what is information? Information that is stored by the brain is any stimuli. If you're on your phone, right, that's going to be giving you information. If you watch TV, that's information. Social media, talking with your wife, with your kids, with your work, with everything. Anything where you have to think, your brain has to process it, that is information. Filtering our information is very, very important. We can bring in 1 million bits of information every second, but we can only process in our conscious mind 40 bits of information. So if you think about this, 1 million going down to 40, that's a big funnel. That means that you've got this big processing center, which is going to get really jammed up. So what we need to do is we need to, first of all, reduce the information that's coming in. How do we do that? We need to prioritize what's actually important to us and what's not important to us. Have you ever been so busy with work that you've forgotten a kid's birthday, forgotten a wife's birthday, missed an appointment that was really important to you, just forgotten stuff, right? Whenever we become overrun and overburdened, we naturally start automatically filtering stuff out and forgetting about it, but often it's not the stuff that we really want to, right? So what we need to do, first of all, is understand what's really important to us and what really, really matters. So, where do your kids rank in your level of importance? Where does your wife rank? Where does business rank? What are all these things? Where do they rank? And we need to go through and get really, really clear on what bits of information are essential. Then at the same time, what bits are not essential? Is watching porn, scrolling social media, looking on Facebook and Instagram, liking big tits and butts, right? Is that important to you? Where does that actually sit in the grand scheme of things? And then what we need to do is, once we've got a list of everything that's really important and everything that's not that important, we need to get rid of everything that's not important. Totally cut it out of your life. Just get rid of it. Don't ever look at it again. And focus purely on the things that are more important. Because what this will do is it'll mean that you'll be able to focus all of your brain power on the things that are important. Your memory will come back, your focus will be way better, your energy will be way better, and you'll feel much more on purpose, on target. There's another really cool thing about this is that you'll achieve your goals way faster. You'll be able to make more money, you'll be a much better dad, you'll be a much better husband, you'll just be way better because that's where you're putting all your focus. So that's the first arm of cognitive detoxification. Understanding what's important and what's not important to you and getting rid of anything that's not important to you. Okay? Now the second thing is getting rid of information, increasing the speed of information going out. I'm going to go back to using the computer example again. So do you remember have you ever been on a computer and you've done like a disk cleanup or a defrag and whatnot, where it's pretty much where it goes and it deletes any files which are not important and are slowing your computer down, and it rearranges the files to make your computer run much faster, right? We have our own inherent system of doing this. Our brain is cleaned out every single night when we sleep. Our brain is cleaned out every single time that we meditate. And what's occurring in both of these situations is we're shifting our body and our mind into a nervous system state. This nervous system state is called the parasympathetic state. You've probably heard me talk about this before. But in this parasympathetic state, this is when we rest and digest. You've probably heard of that term as well. Now, most of the time when we're busy, when we're active, when we're thinking, we go into a sympathetic state. Now, you'll know if you're in a sympathetic or a fight or flight state because your pupils dilate, you start getting sweaty palms, your heart rate starts getting elevated, your body temperature rises, your brain starts thinking really, really fast, your respiration rate rises, you start taking lots of short, sharp breaths instead of long, relaxed ones. Now, when we're in this state of being sympathetic, our brain starts getting fragmented, and you can probably feel that, right? When your brain's running, you've got a million different pieces going on here, there, and everywhere, and they're all over the shop. That is when you're in this fight or flight sympathetic state or a fragmented state, right? This means that you're not going to be cleaning out anything. Your brain's just going to be saying information here, information here, information here, information here. And it's going to be holding on to all of it because it's not going to be able to be cohesive, or there's no logic to what information gets gotten rid of versus what information gets kept. That's why in these situations, you forget things that you shouldn't forget, like birthdays, like meetings, like the conversation you're having with your wife. Does that make sense? That's when you're fragmented in the sympathetic state. On the other hand, when you're in a parasympathetic state, your brain, like the computer, is just doing disk cleanups and defrags constantly. And it's getting rid of the crap and it's keeping all of the good. And it does this inherently, which is really, really freaking cool. So all we need to do is we need to focus on getting out of a sympathetic state and getting into a parasympathetic state. See, when you meditate, you center your mind on one thing, and it's a really, really good process for mental discipline because it calms your mind. When your mind is calm and it feels still, you'll notice that everything is just in the right spot. You're not thinking about all these million different fragments. Everything's really cohesive. When you're having a really good deep sleep, you wake up in the morning and you feel clear. And you feel like everything's in place and you can think really well and your memory's really sharp and your brain speed's really sharp. Once again, no fragments. The key to this is always remaining as much as possible in a parasympathetic state. If you can do that, that's when you'll dominate. Does that make sense? Okay. So, how do we put this all together? Key action steps for you. Number 1, find out what's truly important for you. That's the most important thing. Find out what actually matters when it's all said and done. What are your highest values? What do you want to achieve? What is your summit? Step number 2, make sure that you're spending enough time in a parasympathetic state to let your brain rewire itself. Cool? Now, if you want to learn how to do this, if you want to be able to have more energy, have more focus, have much greater brain speed, if you want to be able to dominate not just at work, but dominate work, make a shitload of money, but then also dominate at home as a husband, as a father, as a man, then what you should do is you should schedule in a game plan call. This is what we do every single day with our guys. So we go through and we understand, okay, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve? What is most important for you? What are the things that are missing right now? And then we create a game plan for you on how to achieve that. Very, very simple. We've done over 15,000 of these things by now. We've got it down to a very, very fine art. And what I can guarantee out of this game plan is that you will leave that game plan call crystal clear on exactly what you need to do on where to get to where you want to be. Okay? So click on the link down below. I'll pop on a link down below in the comments. In the description. You can click on that link, schedule a game plan call, and let's get you to where you want to be. Let's make it so that we can go through this process of disk defragging and cleanups, and let's get rid of all the stimuli that you don't need, and let's get your brain running super effectively so that you can go out and you can dominate in your business. You can dominate as a man, you can dominate as a father, and dominate as a husband. Just click on the link down in the description below, slot on in, let's get you sorted. I hope this episode's been really helpful for you guys. I'll speak to you soon.